Hello, everyone. If I could ask you to find your seat so we can get started, please. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Western Washington University Leadership Forum. My name is Marjorie Hatter, and I am the chair of the Western Foundation Board of Directors. For the past 16 years, the Foundation has hosted this event to bring our community a visionary leader to share with us insights and strategies, leadership styles, and industry trends. From national and international leaders like Alaska Airlines, Microsoft, Nike, to our more local favorites, including Hagen, the Mariners, REI. We've had the good fortune of welcoming companies and individuals who are leaders in their field. And today is no different. PACCAR is both a global leader and a local institution. A Fortune 500 company located just down the road and traces its roots to the Pacific Northwest, but now influences markets worldwide. And our speaker, Carl Hergart, will talk about his company's trailblazing technology and how it will impact all of us. Carl, thank you for being here today, and we look forward to your presentation. This is also a very important scholarship fundraising event. And after lunch today, you will hear from one of our talented Western students on how scholarships not only have allowed her to pursue a dual degree, but how the support of you and others have made college education a real possibility for her. One of the most rewarding parts of being chair of the foundation is the opportunity to learn the many ways in which our university continues to educate and inform us, not just current students, but all of us. I am always amazed by the many accomplishments of the university community and how they continue to develop knowledge and insights into understanding our world. For instance, Western faculty are currently researching climate change and the Aleutians, monitoring the health of Padilla Bay by using drones, and working with the U.S. Air Force on cybersecurity. They are conducting research on cancer therapy agents, seeking a cure for Huntington's disease, guiding the 2 rover vehicles currently traveling across Mars, and studying the impact of energy efficient on our local housing prices as just a few examples. This year, Fairhaven College of Interdisciplinary Studies is celebrating its 50th anniversary year. And something I'm very interested in, Western's new bachelor degree programs in electrical engineering, manufacturing engineering, and plastics and composites engineering are all received full accreditation from ABET, the National Accreditation Board. Carver has reopened after a 2-year renovation, making it home to the Vikings once more, and again, as well as a state-of-the-art academic facility for the Health and Human Development Program. And for all of us, the university provides many educational and enriching opportunities to everyone, from athletics to the performing arts, to lectures and presentations. If it's been a while since you've been on campus, please come and visit and experience all that Western has to offer to you. I know everyone would love to see you. As many of you know, an event like this does not happen without the generosity of our sponsors, and I would like to recognize and thank them. First, a special thanks to our title sponsor, Moss Adams. And to our generous scholarship sponsors, Dawson Construction and Birch Equipment, Bellingham Cold Storage and the Barclay Company, Larson Gross, Metcalf Hodges, Salish Wealth Management, Technology Alliance Group, and VSH Certified Public Accountants. Let's give them a hand. The Western Washington University Foundation Board of Directors, the Alumni Association Board of Directors, members of our college and department advisory boards do so much to advance Western. Many are alums and our parents, and all are very committed community leaders. I will invite all of Western's volunteers to stand as a group and be recognized. Thank you very much for all you do for Western. think they needed a little pause there to get there. Okay. A great university requires great leadership, and we are very fortunate that we have not one, but two great leaders working for Western. As someone who works with several higher education institutions, I can tell you that the commitment of the president's spouse or partner brings to the university is vital to the success of that university. The wife of our president brings not just commitment, but effort, patience, and wisdom to Western. Please join me in extending a very special welcome to Uzma Randhawa. Thank you, Uzma. You notice I didn't mention patience with Sabah or any, it's just, okay, you got that. President Sabah Randhawa is beginning his second year at Western. He's an active listener, a visionary leader, and a strategic thinker. He challenges us and he asks thoughtful and probing questions and addresses issues and concerns directly. I think those are very important qualities in a president and in fact in any leader. Please welcome President Sabah Randhawa.
Marjorie, thank you for your kind introduction and for the service and leadership as chair of the Western Foundation Board. Uzma and I really would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We feel very fortunate to have such an engaged group of business and community leaders and alumni and friends who feel strongly about supporting Western's role in Bellingham and Whatcom County. We are committed to serving this community not only by providing outstanding educational programs for the students we enroll, but faculty expertise and consulting to our partners throughout the region, students eager to engage in hands-on learning experiences through service and internships, and graduates who are ready to hit the ground running in your organizations. There are many ways to measure the impact of a university on its surrounding communities. Marjorie talked about the work of some of our faculty, and in fact, the leader of our faculty, the president of the Faculty Senate, Allison, is with us today. Another way to look at the positive contributions our students make is one measure in terms of measuring the impact of a university. I am pleased that many of our students are joining the forum today, so please indulge me while I do a bit of bragging. Western students recently won the Alaska Airlines Environmental Innovation Challenge. An interdisciplinary team of Western students from business, chemistry, industrial design, and electrical engineering developed an accessible, affordable insert that effortlessly converts airplane windows into energy-producing solar panels. Two Western students also took the top 2 places in the prestigious undergraduate research competition at the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing, which, in case you don't know, is the world's largest gathering of women in computing fields, and at the last meeting had almost 18,000 or so attendees. Students from Western's Plastic and Composite Engineering program have spent last summer researching ways to more efficiently cut honeycomb composites used in the construction of aircraft interiors for Zodiac Aerospace, a worldwide leader in equipment, systems, and safety for commercial, regional, and business aircraft. Students also have been integral to Western Small Business Development Center in downtown Bellingham, the highest performing small business technical assistant provider in the state. Since 2014, the center has served nearly 800 clients, assisted 49 business startups, and secured more than $16 million in new capital for small businesses in our region. Another way to measure the impact of a university is by its rankings. The US News and World Report, in its 2000 college scorecard recently released, recognized Western as the best public master's granting institution in the Pacific Northwest, and second in the West, a region spanning Texas to the Pacific. And Washington Monthly Magazine recently ranked Western as the 13th best master's granting institution, public or private, in the country. These kinds of accolades are certainly gratifying, but what really matters is how we measure our ongoing ability to adapt and respond to nonstop societal, environmental, and technological change. Educational institutions are not immune to the laws of organizational change. Western's fundamental mission to provide exceptional graduates who can successfully compete, lead, and make a positive difference in an increasingly diverse and global society remains unchanged. Like your organizations, however, the circumstances in which we operate are continuously evolving. Over the past year, Western has been engaged in a strategic planning process to help us take stock of the changing external environment, our unique strengths and challenges, and what our mission to serve the state of Washington requires of us in these particular times. Three themes are taking shape from this planning process, which will guide how we ultimately measure our success and impact at Western. The first theme is by advancing inclusive success for our students. The data from our ongoing economic recovery underscore what we have known for a long time. Higher education is a precondition for upward social mobility and the most powerful economic equalizer. In the next decade, 2/3 of the jobs in Washington state will require some form of post-secondary education. Yet our state currently ranks 48th in the nation in participation in 4-year public undergraduate education. And according to the Washington Roundtable, there will be about 740,000 job openings in Washington in the next 5 years. Yet only 31% of Washington high school seniors go on to earn a post-secondary credential today. Our most important challenge then is to raise the success rate for all our students, increase access, and eliminate achievement gaps for students from historically underrepresented backgrounds. The second way we measure our success is through our commitment to enhancing academic excellence. Western is known for having some of the best undergraduate programs in the state, with faculty who not only engage in excellent research and creative work, but involve students to participate with them. We will continue to enhance and expand our programs in the liberal arts, sciences, and professional disciplines, and ensure that every Western student has an opportunity to engage in a high-impact learning experience, such as a study abroad or an internship experience, as well as supporting a faculty culture of innovation. And the third way we will measure our success is by increasing our impact for the state of Washington and beyond. Part of our role as a publicly supported institution is to contribute to the future economic development needs of Washington and the region. This includes meeting the need of graduates in high-demand fields, leveraging public-private partnerships, and expanding programs to offer credentials to place-bound and non-traditional students. For instance, as we are doing now in Paulsbo on the Olympic Peninsula, with 4-year programs in several areas, including business administration and cybersecurity. Of course, we can't do it alone. We are especially grateful for our collaborations with our local partners, Whatcom Community College, Bellingham Technical College, and Northwest Indian College, because Washington needs higher education like never before to collaborate to ensure that educational opportunities are equally afforded to all our citizens. We are confident that we have an essential role to play in helping develop the economic and human potential of Bellingham, of Whatcom County, and of the state of Washington. That is why we are so grateful for your support, your partnership, and your advocacy. Thank you again for being here today for our students and for our shared future. Thanks.
Thank you, Sabah. I always appreciate your thoughtful comments.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lali Ramirez, and I'm a third-year student at Western Washington University, majoring in MIS, which is Management Information Systems, and double minoring in Computer Science and Theater. Thank you for taking... Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here today with us and supporting Western. It is people like yourselves who make pursuing a higher education a reality. I was 8 years old when I came to this country, and the environment, the language, the people, and the culture were so different. Everything was new. I was shocked. Soon after arriving, in addition to processing all of these changes, my family and I learned that my 1-year-old brother was deaf. So not only was I charged with learning English, but American Sign Languages as well. Now, picture this, a 10-year-old girl coming home from school each day, excited to teach my parents what I had just learned. Organizing a teaching lesson, making 2 adults sit in these little red chairs at a child's table, and trying to get them to pay attention. I had taught myself PowerPoint, had my slides ready. As tired as they were from work, they would sit down and listen to me. I would teach them what others had taught me. Senior year of high school, I fell in love with coding and technology when I was given an assignment called An Hour of Code. I loved creating an interactive algorithm that by the time I was finished, I would press a button and watch the magic unveil. But I knew that in order to continue to have these opportunities and to turn this love into a career, I needed to go to college. But for many people like me, that seemed like an impossible dream. As a first-generation student, it was an incredible financial burden. However, I was determined to pay for college. I had a job in high school and saved money to pay for my books. I applied for a handful of scholarships and was fortunate to receive several. These scholarships are what made the difference between my dreams and my reality. When I received the email that said that I was accepted as one of the many fortunate recipients of these scholarships, I cried. Receiving a scholarship revealed an incredible thing, that someone believed in me, that someone out there was willing to invest their valuable resources, energy, confidence, and money in me and my future. Investing in students like myself here at Western is doing something amazing. It is raising the next generation of philanthropists, innovators, doctors, engineers, and world changers. I want you to know that your generosity is making a difference. It is allowing Western students who are passionate learners make a change in their communities to be passionate leaders. Western has given me the tools and resources to refine and further develop my passions. I am focused on MIS because I want to facilitate and attain an efficient decision-making in an organization. I want to combine my love for technology and organizational management to help businesses be more effective. I want to be a system analyst who enhances a program and makes it even better, while utilizing my professional communication skills. By making a gift to Western, you are helping students pursue their dreams and soon could be, for example, the first in their family to get a college degree. I cannot thank you enough for your passionate leadership and philanthropy when you choose to invest in Western's incredibly hardworking students. Today, you have the opportunity to invest in scholarships by completing the pledge right in front of you. Because of you, I was motivated to stand in front of you on this stage and express my endless gratitude. Thank you for listening, actively supporting Western, and for contributing to student scholarships. You are closing the gap between dreams and a reality for students who one day will change the world, one student and one scholarship at a time. I'm proud to now introduce the Dean of College and Science of Engineering, Dr. Brad Johnson.
Thank you, Sitlali. And thank you all for coming. I just want to add my voice to that thank you. And before I move on to my actual task here, I would just like to, you've heard a little bit about her background today, but I'd also like to point out that just 2 weeks ago, she was selected as the student speaker at the annual GeekWire Summit in Seattle and was introduced by Microsoft President Brad Smith. And both her talk and the introduction, I think, are worth listening to. So if you get a chance, go find that one on YouTube. It's worth it. Thank you, Sitlali. Well, it's definitely my distinct honor and pleasure to be the person that gets to introduce today's keynote speaker. Let me just say that from my own perspective, I'm very interested in expanding and deepening the connections of Western Washington University to our community. That's one of my main priorities in serving the College of Science and Engineering. And PACCAR has been one of those partners for a long time, but that's sort of the way I want to get started that way. So Carl Hergart is our speaker, and Carl holds a PhD in mechanical engineering from Aachen University with specialties in in-cylinder modeling of diesel engines. And I'd also like to point out that he has a master's degree in applied physics, and I just want to do that so I could say physics. Carl started out as a research engineer at Ford, and then moved on to be a senior research engineer at GM, and then moving to nearly 10 years at Caterpillar, where he was an engineering manager. So he spent a great deal of his life in leadership in engineering in this field, and is now at PACCAR for almost 4 years as Director of Advanced Powertrain Systems at the PACCAR Technical Center in Burlington. He's well-written. He's many published articles and technical papers on diesel engines and fuels, and holds at least 4 patents. And just last month was the keynote speaker at the American Society of Mechanical Engineers Conference in Seattle. So he's genuinely a leader in the field, and we're extremely pleased to have him here. Please help me welcome Carl Hergart.
Well, thank you very much for the kind introduction, Brad. I understand you've done quite a bit of research there on, it's amazing what's out there on the internet, what you can find. My wife told me this morning that the speaker last year was somebody from CIA. Is that right? So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to top that, but I'll do my best here. So it's really a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today about some of the key developments in improving efficiency in the transportation sector. I have quite a few things to share today. So and I've chosen to split it up into 4 main areas here. First, provide everybody a brief introduction to PACCAR, and then talk a little bit about energy use in general and opportunities to improve efficiency, and take a look at some future trends in emerging technologies. So many of you may not be familiar with PACCAR, but I'm sure you've seen our products on the road. We are actually the second largest heavy-duty manufacturer in the United States. We're market leaders in other parts of the world, like Mexico and Australia. We've got about 17% of the European market through DAF. We produce premium trucks under the Kenworth, Peterbilt and DAF nameplates, and so you see some examples here of our flagship Class 8 products. PACCAR is comprised of 5 primary businesses: commercial vehicles, powertrain, aftermarket support, financial services, and information technology. And each business makes a valuable contribution to PACCAR's success. I want to spend just a few minutes to discuss PACCAR's history. The company started in 1905 as the Seattle Car and Manufacturing Company, producing railway and logging equipment. So we've actually been in the railway industry once upon a time. It was renamed Pacific Car and Foundry Company in 1917, and through the acquisitions of Kenworth in 1945 and Peterbilt in 1958, the company established itself as the premium manufacturer of commercial trucks. DAF was added to the lineup in 1996 and Leyland as well in 1998. And during the past 10 to 12 years, there's been a considerable engine and powertrain related activity at PACCAR, and also especially in North America. Since the PACCAR MX engine was introduced in North America in 2010, our Columbus, Mississippi plant has produced over 150,000 engines for the North American market. And just a few weeks ago, we went into production with a PACCAR transmission, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. And it's fair to say that the days of being an assembler of components are long gone. We used to be a premium assembler of components and assembling them into a real quality product. But today, each subsystem has to be carefully selected to fit into the overall vehicle architecture. And this doesn't necessarily mandate a vertical integration in the sense that we as an OEM have to develop and manufacture all the components. But what it does mean is that we have to engage at a much deeper level than perhaps we did in the past with our supplier and key strategic partners. As we all know, the transportation sector is a heavy consumer of oil, responsible for some 2/3 of the total. And so improving the efficiency of trucks is obviously of great significance. And you may also be familiar with the fact that heavy-duty trucks contribute disproportionately to the total energy consumption. And that is a trend that's set to continue in future years as commercial transportation continues to grow. Of course, today's trucks are much more efficient than its predecessors. In the 1970s, you would have seen line haul trucks get somewhere between 3 and 5 miles per gallon. Today, that number is more like 7 to 9 miles per gallon. And this has been accomplished while at the same time meeting increasingly stringent emissions regulation. The chart on the left here is taken from a recent report issued by the National North American Council for Freight Efficiency. It shows that fleets that adopted fuel-efficient technologies have been able to improve fuel consumption by about 11%, and that they are over 20% over the national average. And of course, this translates into significant cost savings on an annual basis. In 2013, trucks moved $11.5 trillion worth of freight in the United States, equal to about 2/3 of the gross domestic product. Given these stats, it's unsurprising that there's a strong correlation between the amount of goods moved and the GDP. A thriving trucking industry is simply key to economic growth. Let's talk a little bit about the energy losses for an over-the-road truck. If we consider a truck driving 65 miles an hour down the road, pulling 80,000 pounds, a Class 8 tractor-trailer combination uses roughly a tank of diesel per 600 miles of driving. This 80-some gallon of diesel tank is used to overcome rolling and aerodynamic resistance as well as mechanical losses in the drivetrain. However, the biggest losses by far occur in the engine, which is why research into engine efficiency improvement is alive and well and as vibrant as ever some 125 years after Rudolf Diesel was issued his first patent. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the technologies that made this happen. But no presentation or overview of trucks and freight efficiency would be complete without a view of the regulatory landscape. The greenhouse gas phase 2 regulation will start to get phased in 2021 and will be fully phased in by 2027. In the EU, there is a CO2 declaration expected in 2019, and that is expected to be followed by a regulation, CO2 limit regulation in 2021, 2022 timeframe. Major metro areas are getting serious now about imposing all-out diesel bans and zero-emission zones in non-attainment areas. And we expect this to become a reality in some parts of the world sometime in the mid-2020s. California is aggressively pursuing reduced NOx emissions, which are known to contribute to smog. And this is challenging the industry to invent new solutions prior to 2023. And in the safety realm, we relentlessly continue to pursue a zero accident goal. We talked about California. They're proposing a regulation requiring 2.5% of all commercial vehicles sold in the state to be zero emission by 2023, growing that number to 15% by 2030. And this has reignited the discussion about hybrids and electric-only propulsion. And I'll talk a little bit about this later on. We saw earlier that most of the energy losses occur in the engine. So this will get a little bit technical here. About 20 to 25% of the energy available in the fuel is lost, so to speak, in the exhaust. But to call it a waste is not entirely accurate, since the energy is used to drive devices like the turbocharger and also provide heating, necessary heating to the aftertreatment. Still, there's a potential to extract more energy, and two methods being actively pursued now in the community are turbocompounding and the Rankine's bottoming cycle. So we talk about the gas exchange. In some respects, the engine is no different than our human body. It needs fuel and air to function, and any blockage in getting air in and out of our lungs will reduce our performance, just like it will reduce the performance of an engine if the gas exchange process is not optimized. Friction. We have, anytime we have metal surfaces sliding against each other, there's going to be losses due to friction. The magnitude of these losses will depend on the size of such things as bearings, pistons, ring design, operating conditions, etc. With accessory loads, a lot of times friction and parasitics from auxiliary loads get lumped together, although they're strictly speaking different. The electrification of water, oil, and steering pumps now is a hot topic and relevant in the discussion of hybridization. Perhaps the most attractive strategy is to attack the problem at its source, the in-cylinder combustion process. By further optimizing this process, it is possible to simply start out with more before all the reductions are made. And here we look at maximizing the energy extracted to do work on the piston by bringing fuel and air together in an optimized way. This slide here summarizes some of the core engine hardware that has to be selected to ensure best engine efficiency for a given application. This makes up the DNA, if you like, of the engine. The system is optimized by proper calibration, especially as it pertains to transient behavior. However, it is important to remember that even the best calibration in the world won't make up for a poor engine DNA. Another point to make is that combustion optimization must be done in conjunction with the development of other subsystems such as aftertreatment and turbochargers. I've personally devoted a significant portion of my career to combustion system development and optimization, and I could probably spend the entire time here talking about it, but I'll spare you from that, and instead invite you to talk to me afterwards if you'd like to. Talked about powertrain or integration in general, and in the bigger perspective, powertrain integration is key. The way in which, and what we mean by that is the interplay between engine, transmission, axles, and how to pick each component and spec it appropriately. Long established as the norm in Europe, automated manual transmissions are rapidly gaining market share in North America. Its share is now well over 50%, with many fleets being 100%. With the transmission increasingly automated and less decisions left to the driver, there's an opportunity now to develop sophisticated controls that ensures each subsystem operates at its peak efficiency. PACCAR, as I mentioned before, recently added a state-of-the-art automated transmission to our powertrain lineup. One of the features of this transmission is something we call predictive shifting, and that is part of a feature set referred to as advanced predictive functionality. And that represents a way to use GPS-based terrain information to improve fuel economy. This cartoon here is intended to illustrate some of the features we have available on our trucks today. So if we imagine a truck going up a hill here in the bottom left, we would typically have to downshift as we're going up that hill in order to maintain speed. We would come to a plateau there in the middle, and a reactive type of system might say, okay, I can now upshift again, not knowing that there's a hill coming. And so what a smart system would do is to hold the gear. And then as you go up to on the steeper hill, you might have to downshift again. But again, a smart system would see the crest of the hill and say, well, I'm going to pick up speed on the back end, so I'm going to hold my gear. And then on the back end, when we roll down the hill, we're typically putting the transmission in neutral and coasting and saving a lot of fuel. And these are features that, these are things that experienced manual drivers will have done for a long time. And we're now at a point where our automated transmissions will do just that and behave like an expert driver. I mentioned before that there's rekindled interest in electrification and hybrids. And it's fair to say that we've been down this road before as an industry, and there have been some false starts. Naturally, a lot of people will ask what's different this time around. And, well, there are a few things that might suggest that it's really going to happen this time around. There's now concrete regulation being discussed that would effectively outlaw internal combustion engines in certain areas. There have always been fuel economy benefits associated with hybrids, but the technologies haven't been cost effective. However, over the last several years, there have been significant technology advancements, and battery technology is just one example. And as we see increasing electrification in the passenger car sector through players like Tesla and others, there's now more volume and economies of scale for components such as electrified accessories. This slide here attempts to illustrate the spectrum of hybridization and electrification and what applications are likely first adopters. For vocational applications, we might see technologies such as stop-start that you have on a lot of your cars today. For line haul, we think electrification of accessories, as I talked about, will be a main player. And for regional haul, we might want to have a last mile electric only mode where we can deliver goods into city centers with zero emissions. And for refuse applications, one thing about PACCAR, we can't call these things garbage trucks, they're refuse trucks. So they might lend themselves for electric only operation. And we're looking forward to exploring some of these hybrid options in the next several years as part of a $20 million federal grant that PACCAR was recently awarded. This so-called Super Truck 2 program calls for a 100% increase in freight efficiency of our trucks. The 5-year project will be led out of the PACCAR Technical Center in Mount Vernon, and we're excited about the impact these technologies will have on the environment and our customers. The project will significantly challenge us as engineers, forcing us to consider innovative solutions. Just a few words about connectivity and big data. Today we are more connected than ever, and trucks are no exception. Maybe some of you are connected to the internet even right now as we speak. There's a tremendous amount of data out there being generated and transmitted between vehicles and infrastructure elements. This data can include vehicle operation parameters, weather or traffic information, and logistics information communicated by fleet operators to our dealerships. The availability of all this data offers significant opportunities for our new products, customer satisfaction, and increased safety and productivity. The trick is, of course, how to sift through all this data and make sense out of it. Subject matter expertise, some of you might recognize this picture here from a movie. But rest assured that subject matter expertise is going to continue to matter, and it's going to be important. We can't simply blindly apply technologies such as deep learning and artificial intelligence to data sets, not knowing what the data is. So, which is good to know for a mechanical engineer, that maybe there's a future to. Now, many tasks have been automated, and we've come to accept systems such as ABS, anti-brake analog braking systems. We don't even think about the fact that the car is applying just the right pressure we need when we brake. Electronic stability control, automated transmissions, and adaptive cruise control. So these are all examples of automation that has already taken place. And in a way, I think when we talk about automation and autonomous vehicles now, it is really more of an evolution than a revolution. Clearly, it's perhaps slightly frightening to think about self-driving 80,000-ton trucks driving down the road. And it will probably be a while before that happens, but it is really just a continuation of an automation continuity. Some of you may be familiar with the SAE standard for Advanced Driving Assistance Systems. The spectrum goes from 0, representing conventional, unassisted operation, up to level 5, which represents full automation. And we got some examples here. So technologies like automatic emergency braking, where the brakes are applied automatically if you see an object approaching. That's an example of a level 1 technology. Level 2 would be, for example, platooning, where you have road trains of trucks. A level 3 example would be auto docking, where the truck effectively parks itself at a dock with no assistance. And PACCAR is actively working on a level 4 high automation Class 8 truck. That little processor there is pretty impressive. It's doing something like 25 million calculations per second. And it's really interesting to observe this merging of the tech sector with the more traditional discipline like mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. We see a lot of non-traditional players coming into our area now, or this area, such as NVIDIA. This slide here summarizes the benefits we see with automated driving or autonomous driving. First and foremost, it's safety and productivity and comfort for the driver. We don't see this as a replacement of the driver. We want to definitely stress that. We want to make a tough profession easier and make it easier on the driver. There are plenty of tasks that are very, very difficult to automate, such as pre-trip inspections, and if something happens en route, something has to be fixed. Just look at the aviation industry, where we've had autopilots for several decades, obviously, and we still have 2 pilots in the cockpit, and we see a similar development for trucks. It's important also to be cognizant of the cost of the technologies enabling autonomous operation. The business models have to be such that it pays off for the customer to implement these technologies, in addition to the safety features that it offers, of course. These approximate numbers are taken from a 2016 Roland Berger study. Of course, as adoption and volumes go up, the costs are expected to come down. Here's a view of a scenario we might see in the future. We may see long-haul trucks operating between infrastructure hubs. These trucks will be connected and potentially autonomous and will have a high degree of electrification. Regional trucks will be required to operate in a purely electric mode in city centers without sacrificing necessary range on highways. And there will be urban applications of operating in zero-emission and non-attainment areas. I know we have some students in attendance today, and I would like to end with a slide to talk about the skills the industry will be looking for in the future. And I didn't mean to be exclusive here of any particular discipline. And I added engineering physics there because that's what I studied in Lund, so I had to include that. But there are certainly other areas, obviously, that I might have missed here. But with system integration becoming increasingly important, individuals with cross-disciplinary skills will thrive. The traditional engineering programs, such as mechanical, electrical, chemical, and computer science, will continue to be relevant, highly relevant. However, the growth in deep learning and artificial intelligence cannot be ignored, and working knowledge in such fields will be highly valued. A key attribute is adaptability. Winston Churchill said, "To improve is to change, to be perfect is to change often." And there is rapid change in our industry, and we are constantly being challenged in our convictions. As engineers, it's critical that we keep an open mind and are willing to listen to new ideas. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you at the Technical Center. We have an open house every year in April. You're certainly all welcome to come and see us, or anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. I think that was a really fascinating little look into the technology. I think we think a lot about cars and other sorts of technology as it affects us, and I think it's always great to look at the infrastructure around us and how all the technology is impacting that very important part of our lives. So thank you for sharing your insights and vision. So we've reached the end of our program. I want to thanks to our faculty, our staff, students who are here today, and for all of you for your continued generosity and support. It truly makes a difference. Have a wonderful afternoon and a great holiday season, and thank you for coming.